Wednesday. This I don't intend for this to be long, but then sometimes that's not my intention. Then it's like, how long have I been on here? I took my watch off, but whatever. But I like these because it's cool to connect with people that maybe you haven't talked to, I haven't talked to in a minute or seen, but that are in my heart and things like that. I think the last time I went live, my sis joined, and it was really good to hear from her and to see her face and everything and for us to connect. And since then, she transitioned, but being able to go back or just like have those connections and things, I really love that. Outside of just sharing something that has been imparted in my spirit and been on my heart and in my mind, because I am always thinking, like there's always something on my mind. I feel like God is always, life is always, experiences are always gifting me wisdom and allowing me to extract, the whatever's in it. I always say that there's something in everything, and even in the things that are uncomfortable or unfamiliar, that are seemingly negative, there's always something in it for you. And so sometimes you might have to squint a little bit to see it, you might have to adjust and pivot, your perspective, and oftentimes step out of victimhood, because it is really very easy to point the finger and be like, you did this to me, or, this always happens to me, or what have you. But that only perpetuates victimhood, which only invites more of those types of experiences to you in the first place. And so, yeah, there some things have been on my mind, but just today, it's been a few things, but a lot of those things, all of those things, it's like the ingredients that were in so many things that I've been dealing with and in different experiences, all were brought together, and I have clarity now. And so, yeah, you want to hear? Here it go. I guess I'll go back to like when I was younger, and I mentioned on these before that at times, like, I would be ostracized and things, and because of that, and then just other things, like I would spend time by myself. So I became an adult who I love my family, I love my friends, I love being around people I care about, but I also really love being to myself, and I don't really feel lonely much, hardly ever, for real, because I like myself, I enjoy myself. I know if I'm gonna do something by myself, I'm gonna have a good time, I'm gonna enjoy the vibe. I usually meet good people wherever I go, and so yeah, but also sometimes if I was like in a stressful space or a difficult space or a challenging space, or I felt like I didn't have something to offer by way of wisdom or resources or sharing my gifts or being helpful or of service in some way, or just my positive, upbeat, typical self, I would just ostracize myself or isolate, myself. And sometime last year, I was doing that, or maybe it was, last year I was doing that. I had isolated myself, and I realized that was a trauma response. And it's really important, like when we deal with traumatic experiences or tough things, because I think now everybody's calling everything trauma, and it's like, we all done been through some trauma, don't get me wrong, everybody, I won't say all, but many people have. But I think it's also okay to just say that was challenging and not saying that was trauma, and especially we take ownership and say my trauma, because it's like that's just something that you dealt with, and even though you were an active participant in it or a main character in it, I think sometimes when we take ownership of something, then that becomes a whole nother thing, which is a whole nother tangent, which is not why I'm here. But anyway, I realized that isolation was a trauma response for me, and it's really important. I won't say important, but I find it to be really beneficial to create new neural pathways. And again, getting out of that victim mentality that only perpetuates these cyclical experiences that you don't really enjoy. And so my isolation then converted over into solitude, where it was like, okay, God had revealed some things to me, and I'm like, you know what, I know this season is really just supposed to be me and God right now, and very, 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 very super few selective people were in that space. And not even all the time, just like here and there, because I was very adamant about, I need to just focus and and it just to be me and God right now, you know, because I recognize there were some things that I was subconsciously perpetuating, and I'm like, I need to get to the root of this. And before I just go and burden other people, not saying that needing support and needing community is always a burden, but sometimes for me personally, I just need to hunker down and lock in and focus so that I can see, because sometimes you can have all these other things going around. Hey, happy Wednesday. You can have all these things going around that it's like, I need to focus. You know, I need to be in solitude so that I can see my way through it all. And so that's what I did. And so I named this Connection After Solitude because maybe in the last, what's February now? Maybe like the last month-ish, I've been slowly but surely coming out of solitude. And I'm still not outside like crazy or anything like that, but it's like I've been allowing, you know, more people and some of the people that have been in my life and things like that into my space a little bit more. But one thing that was a highlight and kind of contributed to this was last Saturday I went to yoga for the first time in a minute. Like I used to go to yoga at one point like 3 times a week, and there was a time I was going like every weekend, and I made a thing of it on Saturdays and all, but I hadn't really been making time for it. And then the group that I practice with, Yoganic Flow, in the city, they hadn't been having yoga, which is typically who I would practice with. They have it outdoors. That's my favorite. But this past weekend I was indoors. But anyway, it's still a beautiful experience. And I went to yoga, and so we were doing a few poses, like balancing poses. And I always talk about yoga because I love it, for one. I can tell a difference in my posture when I practice yoga. I can tell a difference in my energy. I can tell the difference in just my overall balance, both internally and externally. I feel like yoga, especially when you have like a pose that may pose a challenge, it mirrors how you react and respond in life. Like when something is challenging, do you push yourself, you know, beyond your capacity? You know, are you trying to impress other people? You know what I'm saying? Like, is your ego kind of in yoga, like, is your ego navigating the whole experience? Because are you looking at somebody else like, oh, she can do the pose or he can do that and I can't do it, like, let me try to, like, you know, it just mirrors kind of life for me. It's like the imitation of life. And so this past weekend when I was practicing yoga, I was in the front row, but some people had come in after. So one lady to the left of me was like a little bit, her mat was like slightly ahead of mine. And so they tell you, like, when you're doing a balancing pose, like, to focus on something that's in front of you that is not moving. And so I always like find something that's not moving. Wait, what does that mean? Like the calmness of yoga, is that what that's for, or something? The peacefulness of yoga. But yeah, so they tell you, like, to focus on something in front of you that's not moving, you know, that can help you keep your balance. And so if you got something to say, just come on here. Oh, okay, cool. but yeah, so I was focusing on something that wasn't moving on the wall, and which is easier than in nature because you might focus on a tree or something like that. But anyway, so I'm focusing on this part in the wall in front of me, but then I noticed the lady out of my peripheral. I was not focused on her, but out of my peripheral vision, I see the lady to the left of me, and she's like wobbling in the pose and all, and so. Okay, I think I added you.
Okay.
Hey, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. I'm just listening. It's so peaceful. That's what I was saying.
Oh, got you. I'm like, are you talking about yoga or the background or what?
Just the whole thing. I had posted something the other day about like living in your purpose, and you live in your
Mm.
purpose, and I love that.
Oh, thank you. What was the post about? You said living in your purpose. What are you doing, or what made you post that?
Um, you know what? I haven't really, focused on solitude as much as I am now,
Mm,
and I find myself like fixing myself kind of like inside out, through meditation, through reading, just even just having the calmness of just being in my home, being in, like, when you go in your home, it's certain stuff that you probably depreciate over time, like that you appreciate it when you put it in there, and now I just
mm,
like I appreciate like my own thoughts or my own just.
Oh, what happened? Oh, you froze. It said you weren't able to join, but you're on here. That's weird. Uh, uh, okay. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how to. That's never happened before. Um, that's really weird. I don't know if I'm still live or if he just got. That sucks. I don't even know how to like. The show must go on. No. Dang. I don't even know if he can. That's so weird. It says accept. I already accepted it, but I don't know. But anyway, maybe he'll come back on, and maybe I'm not even live. I don't know. Hopefully I am, but it just froze. Hmm. Jeez. I don't know, but but yeah, solitude is a beautiful, beautiful thing. You know, it doesn't always have to be bad. I'm not the person like I'm the person, honey. I went out of town by myself, which now so many people are doing that, like going on solo trips. I've also had girls trips and went out of town with family and friends. I've been to concerts by myself. I've been out to dinner. Like I really enjoy myself. I like myself as a person, and so yeah, I don't know what happened here. Um, but yeah, solitude is a beautiful thing. You know, I don't, if I want to do something, I'm not waiting on somebody to do something I want to do. And even sometimes, even if I have people to go with to certain things, sometimes I just want to be to myself, in my own energy, in my own space, in my own vibe, you know? Um, but shout out to him. Joseph, if you go out, I don't know if you can or what happened. Maybe your Wi-Fi comment wanted to be in solitude. I don't know. But anyway, um, so yeah, so getting back to what I was saying, I was at yoga. And I hope this doesn't save weird. That sucks. Ugh. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know. But so yeah, like in yoga, you focus when you're doing a balancing pose. They always tell you to focus on something that's in front of you. So like I was saying, there was a lady to my left, and she's wobbling, right? Um, and it keeps saying that is unable to join. That's so weird. At least he wasn't making like a crazy face. His eyes are just closed. Like, thankfully, you're not making a crazy face because that would have been bold. So I don't know if it's still on here. Um. Anyway, hey, happy Wednesday. Can someone tell me like, is it showing a double screen like somebody else is on here with me, frozen or what? Please let me know because I don't know. But anyway, so in yoga, so yeah, so there's a lady to the left of me, she's wobbling. And again, it reminded me of like when you're in solitude, when it was just me and God, I didn't have all these other distractions. And it's really easy okay, perfect, perfect, thank you. But yeah, when you're in solitude, it's really easy to focus. It's easy to hear God. It's easy to be tuned in with your intuition. It's easy. Discipline is much easier. Focus is much easier. It's when you reinsert yourself back into society. It sounds super dramatic, but when you like, have other people around, um, uh, that focus, that intuition, that honoring of self and integrity and things like that can then be challenged. Um, and so that's how it was in yoga. And that's what really made me like think of a lot of those things. Because when it was just me and I'm just focusing on this spot in the wall and I'm balancing, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm locked in. I didn't have an issue with the pose. It was when things and people in my peripheral started to kind of get me off kilter. Next thing you know, I'm wobbling when I was just fine. And so it really made me think about this season that I'm coming into, that life is introducing me to, because I saw Tabitha Brown, Auntie Tab, make a video earlier, or at least I saw it earlier, and she was saying like the importance of giving people grace, because you don't know what people are going through. Even if that's she was like, even if that's your friend or your parent or your partner or a coworker or whomever, you know, they may tell you a lot of things, but sometimes people don't tell you everything. There's things that maybe you've told nobody, that you don't feel great about, or things that you don't even think to bring up, or things that you're, I don't want to say battling, but dealing with on the inside, So anyway, she was talking about, giving people grace and things like that. Where I was going with that, I forget. Anyway, um, but yeah, I started to think about what is this season of my life look like, now with coming out of solitude, what does my connection, to source look like? What does my connection to my intuition look like? What does that connection to my heart look like? Because it's really easy to just say, oh, love and light and all these things and whatever, but then something that's not so light comes into your reality and it's like, okay, what am I going to do with that? How am I going to navigate that? Who am I, you know, um, with this the introduction of this circumstance, and so yeah, I wrote some things down. That sucks. I don't even know what happened, but yeah, I saw another video some months ago and it really, really resonated. And it was this guy, he was in a circle of people and he was talking about how so many people are unknowingly trying to reach for perfection. And now so many of these self-help books, which are great, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking anything or anybody, but so many of these help books are promoting your higher self, your best self, the best version of you, which is something that I feel like I'm always working towards actualizing. Uh, and the last few months, I realized that I had such an unrealistic and inhumane standard of myself, you know. I was born in Virgo season, so there's that already. And then you add my life experiences and things, and so for a while now, I've been really focusing on that. And he was talking about the value in maintaining your balance, not trying to be your best, not trying to be super like rigid with yourself and all that kind of stuff, but simply maintaining balance. Because when I think about the version of me that exists when I'm balanced, it's so refreshing, when I'm not super hard on myself, when I'm not lax, when I'm just in this like this really beautiful balanced space, you know, when my mind is in a good space, when my heart is in a good space, when my body is in a good space. Um, it just feels really, really good. And he was saying, like, what if balance was the goal? Just maintaining balance. When you think about all the things that go into your most balanced state, it that can already be, I don't want to say be a lot because it's not a lot, but when you think about what goes into it, the components that go into that alone, it's like, okay, let me ease up and just focus on just being balanced, and maintaining that for myself. And so the beginning of I was about to say July, definitely January. The beginning of January was good. I there's like two people in particular that I consider master teachers, that everything that they come out with, I am in tune with, I pay attention to, I keep up with. That's why didn't want to do a filter, because I'm like, you drink this and next thing you know, your whole filter's gone. And you're like, oh. but two people is Professor Melanie and Dr. Be Serious. And so Dr. Be Serious, both of them, he was the first one that I saw had come out with a parasite detox, and they just wrapped it up. His was for 28 days, and it was supposed to start, or slated to start, on January the 11th. Yeah, January the 11th. Yeah. So before, I was like working towards like getting it and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to prepare my body, my mind, all that kind of stuff. Because I'm the kind of person, once I make a decision, that's it. I'm locked in, I'm focused. There's nothing that can like sway me or deter me. Unless like there's some wisdom that comes in that's like, oh, you know what, this is a better option. But for the most part, when I make a decision, that's it. Um, and so I had planned on getting his, and then I ended up getting the one from Professor Melanie. But anyhow, in preparation for his, since January the 11th, I hadn't been eating any meat. I had been cutting out processed foods. I had been cutting out like extra sugars and things that are not naturally occurring in different fruits and things like that. And so I'm like, I need to prepare, because in doing different fasts and things, I realized like it's so much, it's just set yourself up for success when you prepare beforehand. And so that's what I was doing. And so since 2014, I haven't eaten red meat or pork. Um, uh, at one point back, maybe like 2016, 17 or something around there. Like I was pescatarian, I was vegan for some time, and different things like that. But I'm just very intentional about what I consume. And so, and not just edibly, but so anyway, um, I cut out even like I love some salmon. I cut out salmon, I cut out sugars and just so many different things because I'm like, I really, really want to, not even I want to, but I had intended to have full integrity and to be dedicated to this parasite detox because I read a book maybe 2015, 16, somewhere in there when I first started learning a bunch of things about foods and spirituality and so many things. I got this book and I don't know who I let borrow the book. I have no clue. But it's a really good book. It's called Parasites Rex. And Dr. B actually talks about another book, recommends another book called I think it's called This Is Your Brain on Parasites. It's like a grayish, bluish color, I think, and it has like an outline of a brain on the front. But anyway, This Is Your Brain on Parasites. But I read Parasites Rex some years ago. And from that book, I learned how parasites can affect your mind, your body, your energetic field, so many different things. So like, like how the whole Jesus on the cross and he's like, they know not what they do. That's people on parasites too. Like sometimes people will do things or say things, and it's not just the parasites that they get from the things that they're edibly consuming, but the things that they're audibly consuming, the things that we energetically consume, the things that we visually consume. You know what I'm saying? Like your subconscious is so powerful. You can just be around something or see something in your peripheral, something that you don't necessarily think that you're registering. Your brain is registering. Your subconscious mind is registering that, and then even projecting more of that into your reality. And so intentionality is really important, but not being overly like, oh, I gotta be like, doing too much about it. Anyway, so I read that book some years ago, and so I understood. I had a decent understanding of the effect of parasites and things on us, and so I'm like, you know what? There are some things that I'm moving into. There is a version of me that's emerging in this season, and that I'm preparing for. And even now, a lot of people are like, December 30 or January 1st is not the real New Year. The real, nothing is growing at that time. The new year is really in the spring because life is emerging. So a lot of people consider Aries season to be the mark of the new year. And so I'm not here to debate anybody on anything about that. You feel how you feel, you think what you think, you do what you do. But I'm like, you know what? There are some things that I was planning for March, and which now I think will be more towards April. But I'm like, you know what? I didn't think about doing the parasite detox prior to them talking about it, but there were some things that I was just like, I don't want to do that anymore. Or I really feel like I felt led to make a decision and to be disciplined in certain ways that I'd kind of strayed away from that could be beneficial. And so the parasite detox just was really in alignment with what I was thinking and where I was. Because I'm like, certain patterns and habits and things like that just have no space in what I'm working towards and actualizing and all that. And so I'm like, you know what? This is just really in alignment with that. And so January the 11th, I had cut out a bunch of different things in preparation. And then I ended up starting this parasite detox. Hers is 14 days. I started on February the 10th, because the weekend of the 8th I was out of town, and I'm like, I still didn't eat crazy though. I didn't eat meat and all that kind of stuff because I'm like, I don't want to make it difficult for myself when I get back home on that Monday, which was the 10th. And so I'm on day 10, 9, 10, 9. Anyway, you do the math. Um, but I have to be really regimented, like even more than before, because I have a rise routine where I meditate and pray and set intentions and all this kind of stuff and claim the type of day that I intend to have, despite any external factors. I go to bed at a certain time. I wake up at a certain time, and right now it's 5:55. It's funny, but um, but in this detox, I've had to be even more disciplined and intentional than I already am, because you have to drink certain things at a certain time, you have to drink the detox tea at a certain time, you have to do different things at a certain time. And it's like I've had to attend these workshops and things. The first workshop was like 4 hours. The one I just watched for phase 3, because I'm in phase 2, it's in 3 phases of the detox. I'll be starting, well, I have like next week is, or Sunday and Monday, because Monday is my last day. But Sunday and Monday, I think it might be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Sunday, Monday. Either way, it's phase 3. Um, and there's different things you have to do. Every phase calls for something different, calls for a new regimen, a new routine, new strategy, and things like that. And so, yeah, it's called for just even more um, from me and of me. But I'm like, hey, I'm locked in. Like I said, once I make a decision, I make a decision. Um, but it made me think about temptation. So sometimes, like when you're in solitude, you can be locked in. You're good, as long as you have integrity about things, because it doesn't matter who knows, who's holding you accountable. You can have an accountability partner, but unless they're following you around every day, going to the bathroom with you and everything, you don't know what somebody's doing. As much as you want to be accountability partners, that's great, but I'm accountable to myself. I'm accountable and accountable to my own integrity, because if I know I said something, if I know I gave my word on something, if I know, it'll my what do you call it, not your yeah, my conscience is loud. And if I didn't do something I said I was going to do, or if I didn't follow through, or if I cheated or do like I'm gonna be at a bad space. Forget if somebody else knows. And so I feel like with temptation, temptation only works if, first of all, if you wanted to do it anyway, but also temptation is successful, uh, and can get you off kilter when you're not, when you have a lack of clarity, when you haven't yet made a decision. The guy on here, Dominic 369, he had talked about decisions and how a decision is different than a choice. He said like how uh like an incision, or what is it, what else did he say, something else is like cutting all other things off. So it's like when you make a decision, everything else is cut off. Nothing else exists once you make a decision. When you make a choice, there are other options that are in existence still, that are kind of flailing in the wind. When you make a decision, that's it. And so temptation only is successful when you wanted to do it anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not eating certain things, and there has been temptation. The other night I went out with my friends. They were eating other things that looked darn good too. But I'm like, no, and it's not to make anybody feel bad, but I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Um, so I can smell food or be around something or whatever, but it's like if I made a decision, that's it. And the discipline that is required, to have integrity for certain things. And again, when you reconnect with people, when you start to emerge, it's like, okay, who am I going to be now? It's easy to be locked in when it's just me. you know it's just like, if you say, okay, I'm not drinking anymore, 2025, no drinks for me, I'm good. But then you can be good when you stay in the house and it's the winter months and everything, it's too cold outside, you don't like the cold. It's like, I could be locked in. Cool, I haven't drinking 3 months now. You got your little chip if you've been to like AA or something, whatever. But then it's springtime. It's summertime. And your friends say, hey, you want to go to the club or you want to go to the bar? And the next thing you know, you haven't been around any of these things. You've been drinking fruit juices and smoothies. The next thing you know, you go to the bar and it's like, oh, I didn't make a decision. You know, I didn't have clarity. I wasn't locked in on this just yet. It was just easy for me to not do it because I wasn't around it. But then you go around other people. Hey sis, happy Wednesday. You go around people. Oh, that's so sweet. You go around people, and the next thing discipline it isn't what it was before because you didn't have that temptation. That temptation wasn't present. You know, um, and so that's funny. You came in towards the end, but wonderful day. Thank you. You too. I saw your plate the other day that you made. That plate looks so good. It was something, but it was like jerk something, and I forget what the greens were or something like that. It looked super super good. But yeah. So this is just to talk about some things as far as when you're coming out of solitude, and when you've been in connection with God, with source, with the universe, with your ancestors, with your spirit team, with Allah, with whatever you connect with, um, and once you start to reintroduce people and things back into your reality, and and how you navigate that and who you decide to be and where you are. And so, um, in closing, you know, if you happen to find yourself in a similar space as you are re-emerging and um, becoming reacquainted with other people and things and environments, I just encourage you to decide, you know, once you make a decision with yourself, you know, for yourself, and you hold on to that integrity, and you just take inventory about, okay, where where do I find integrity to this decision challenging, and work through those things in and of yourself first, you know, then it makes it so much more easy to be able to honor that in the midst of everything else and anything else. Because again, you can have your balance, but then the other people around you, things in your peripheral, things, you know, can start to come back up, and it's like, oof, I'm kind of losing my balance, you know? So anyway, I don't want to make this longer because Lord knows I did not expect to be on here this long, and that happens so often. But yeah, happy Wednesday. May you have a beautiful day. You know, may you feel honored and celebrated and loved and supported and cherished and all those beautiful things by someone, even if that someone is yourself. Happy Wednesday.